But first, would you put something in your body that could nerve damage, ruptured tendons, even suicide? Well, tonight, new alarms over the most widely used antibiotics by consumers across the country.
An exclusive 5 on Your Side investigation has found federal regulators are dragging their feet on boosting safety warnings. Chief Investigator Ron Regan here. And Ron, you're reporting on these drugs among the reasons here for significant change.
Well, that's right. 5 years ago, we first reported and uncovered serious side effects for a family of antibiotics that you probably know as Cipro and Levaquin. And while the FDA has increased warnings, you may still be taking these drugs and have no idea they could harm you.
We just knew she would never have been late. She parked her car on the side of the interstate and walked in front of a semi.
We first told you about Dina Pogan 3 years ago.
It was not her. She would have never, ever, ever done something like that.
And could something 4 months earlier have triggered it?
Was prescribed Cipro.
Cipro.
It's an antibiotic, a fluoroquinolone.
Our initial report prompted the FDA to issue warnings about side effects, including suicide, that's been tied to 174 deaths over the last 20 years.
She had the psychosis. She ended up, she had something called akathisia, where she felt like she had to climb out of her body.
Now, 3 years later, her family says those warnings are going unseen by patients.
There is a communication breakdown.
Deanna's sister says the warnings are in small print, hard to read, and often ignored.
Toxic psychosis is actually listed on the Cipro package insert, and the Cipro package insert is 52 pages long.
When it's printed at a readable 12-point font, was about 30 feet long.
Dr. Charles Bennett is the nation's leading advocate for increased warnings for Cipro and Levaquin.
We may have 2.4 million people who experience long-term psychiatric illness.
So he asked the FDA last June for new rules to get patients written consent, making sure they understood side effects, including ruptured tendons, nerve damage, and suicidal thoughts. Side effects already included on packaging, but advocates argue consumers never see them.
Anybody who receives this product has to be able to be informed by their physician in writing with a written consent about the side effects.
Plus access to a computer database to easily obtain warnings, something Deanna's family says is desperately needed.
They are not getting the proper information about their medications.
Instead, we've learned the FDA is, quote, unable to reach a decision due to other agency priorities.
We need to have that information. Informed consent is essential to make sure that we know what we're putting in our body.
They are supposed to look out for the consumer, and they are not looking out.
And we'll continue to follow what the FDA does, and we'll let you know. Meanwhile, Bayer Pharmaceuticals that makes Cipro and Janssen Pharmaceuticals, which no longer makes Levaquin, says its safety is well established, but there are plenty of generics out there. I'm Chief Investigator Ron Regan.